welcome, and thank you for joining me again this week. Welcome to Let's Talk Personal. I am your host, as always, Frances Reimers. If you would like to connect with us online, you can do so on Twitter at LTP Brand Radio or on Instagram at Let's Talk Personal. If you would like to talk personally to me, and we found out a couple of people right before the show absolutely wanted to do that, you can do so on Instagram at Firestarter CEO or on Twitter at Your Firestarter. Big doings this week. Big, huge, great show this week with one of my oldest, dearest friends, Lauren Lawson-Zeli. Hello.
Hello.
We did not plan this. This was not on purpose. We both walked in and were like,
Purple.
okay, well, that's going to be the order of the day. So, no, we are not trying to be the Double Mint Twins. This was not on purpose. This was just the color du jour today. But thank you for joining me on today's show. For the audience out there who is not in the know, Lauren and I have been friends for a considerable amount of time. We have served on
10 years.
10 years. We have served on 2 nonprofit boards together.
Correct.
2 of them. We have traveled together. I sang in your wedding. That was a big one. When she got married, I sang in her wedding.
I didn't even know how your voice sounded. I just kind of went with it. You don't remember this? This is how Frances is. She can sell ice to Eskimos. And so
That's true.
you convinced me. And
Yes.
then I remember leaning over to Justin and I was like, oh, she's really good. And this was this is in real time during her wedding.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, noted. Thank you for taking a
chance.
colossal risk on me on your wedding day. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I was really nervous about the song that you chose.
Grow old with
because it's not in my register. It's meant for an alto, and I'm a soprano, and so there was several notes within this song that are just almost a little too low for me to reach, and it's right at the beginning of the song, and so it was a little dicey for me. But the best part is that I was in the back of the event space. Everyone's backs were to me. Most people didn't even realize that a person was singing live. They thought it was a recording that was being played. And it wasn't until a couple of people turned around and saw, oh my God, there's actually a human being. The only person that was like fully into my performance from start to finish was Karen's dad. And he was just like
and
watching.
The piano player.
And the piano player,
yes.
who was all about my jam. He was super cool. But most people thought it was a recording. And so when we got to the reception, no joke, at the table that we were sitting at, somebody came up and was like, oh my God, I love the performance. And the woman, I can't remember who it was, but the woman sitting next to me was like, that wasn't a recording? And I was like, no, I was literally in the back of the place singing. She was like, oh, I thought it was a recording. And of course, Scott took no pictures.
Right.
He took no pictures of that. So there's no real... Are there any pictures?
My professional photographer.
Oh, I still have not seen those pictures.
7 years later.
7 years later. I think we'll let that one go. That won't be put on Instagram.
Flashback.
But, yeah.
Flashback
We'll do a
Friday.
flashback Friday. So,
yeah.
yes. So, mine? Oh, okay. I wasn't talking into the microphone, but I'm sure you all heard me just fine. So, yes, we have been friends for a considerable amount of time. We have seen each other through...
good times and bad.
Good times and bad. And, but, every time somebody's like, oh, DC's so transient. It's so transient. Nobody ever knows anybody. I'm like, all the friends that I made when I moved here,
right.
I'm still friends with. I mean,
right.
even people like Rebecca, who I don't talk to or see all that often, I still know what's going on in her life, and she was there in the beginning, and you and Laura and Janae and other people that you out in the viewing public have no idea who we're talking about, but you're watching and I love you. I don't think DC is transient at all. Like, rarely have people exited.
I feel differently.
Okay.
So I moved here. A lot of my friends from college
Right.
were here. I rarely keep in touch with them now. A lot of
Right.
people have moved on.
Right.
So I'm glad that I joined Junior League and Washington Women in Public Relations and PRSA
RSA,
and
right.
Young Nonprofit
YNPN
Professionals
DC,
Network,
yes,
which
yes.
is how we met because, or even going to church. I just have met people and have kept in touch with them. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like almost every year or every quarter someone's moving. One of my good friends that I've known since 2005 just moved to Atlanta. So people are always moving, and it's tough.
I mean, luckily for me, Caroline is the only person that has like literally moved away. Everyone else just moved out to the suburbs. So, I mean, for me, that's literally away. But luckily, you and Janae live, 4 miles apart, so I can see you guys in one trip every time. But I just have not felt that transientness of the DC metro area. Maybe the people that I are around, they're just stickers. They stay. But to me, it really, the people I did business with 15 years ago when I rolled up on this scene, they're still in my life in one way, shape, or form. And so, I mean, I don't know, maybe people just don't like getting rid of me. I don't know. Like, I would encourage you to, but maybe they don't want to. But we have larger, other than this Sweet Valley High reunion moment we're having right here, we have larger things to get to, which is talking about our shared lives, our shared passion, which is PR and marketing and visibility and these kinds of things.
And civic involvement. And
just being overall awesome women who lead. And so I want to start off by talking about what you do every day, because that's a big deal. Sure. And so for those who didn't look and cyber stalk,
pay attention,
right, or read the little social media tile, Lauren is the spokesperson for Goodwill International and their director of communications, which is a massive job. It's massive. And so talk a little bit about Goodwill and what you're doing there right now.
Sure. So I'm the senior director of PR, and my team, a small, mighty team of 2, hopefully 3, with an outside consultancy, leads the video production, our influencer and media outreach, our cause partnerships in terms of media and our crisis communications. So one thing to be aware of in terms of how Goodwill functions is people think of the Goodwill brand as one brand.
Yes.
And there are actually 161 Goodwill organizations that are all autonomous. And they're governed by a local board of directors who appoints the CEO, and they're all offices that operate stores and donation centers in their territories. And that revenue is really the bread and butter. So from the sales of goods, that helps create employment placement and job training, which makes our jobs, and I mean our, meaning the whole marketing communications team, challenging because we also have to service our members. We're not a top-down organization. So in addition to our job responsibilities, we're looking at how do we best serve our membership? What materials can we create for them? What consultations can we provide to them? How can we help them do their job better?
Right. And anybody who's worked in affiliate marketing or membership marketing definitely their heart goes out to you, because every different organization has different needs. Back in my days of association marketing, there was always that one or group of people that always went rogue and never used the logo correctly, didn't understand that, no, you don't put our logo on, coffee mugs or bumper stickers or whatever the case may be.
Or combine it with the Taco Bell logo. If you're doing a partnership, that might be a bad idea.
Yes, or that. And I mean, and like, back in the day when I was working at Sister Cities and we had 135 partnerships worldwide, constantly educating, no, you cannot reverse out the logo and turn it into red instead of black. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so, a lot of people don't understand, like, you're not just doing marketing for one place and you send out the doctrine and everybody follows it to the letter. More often than not, you're doing more marketing policing than proactive marketing work. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge. So how do you, with a mighty staff of 2, almost 3, and a consultant, how do you balance that every day?
I don't know if there's really a balance. It's just focusing on the priorities. And an issue situation could easily turn into a crisis communication situation. So every day is really different. And it's also about having a skill set of influencing people because, again, we can't control what they do. But if we have an interesting national partnership or, say, a celebrity or influencer come our way, then we have to convince them of the brand value of that. And it doesn't always work, but if the majority is aligned, then we can be in a good path moving forward.
And as most people know, Goodwill has a ton of brand equity, but you're dealing with some heavy hitter organizations. I mean, you have a very heavy hitter project on your hands right now. Yes. This is not, a low level kind of under the radar sort of thing. This is a massive undertaking. So dealing with something, talk about what that is, and then talk about how you manage something like that with like day-to-day initiatives.
So Goodwill has been around for 116 years. We coined the term the social enterprise before it became catchy. We're the original social enterprise. And in order to be relevant, we have to look at the job market and make sure that our program participants and people coming to us are on the front line of the employment sector. So that means changing and integrating, and so digital skills, of course, is very relevant today. We have integrated digital skills into our portfolio, into our trainings, and that means anything from filling out a timesheet to computer programming. So we partnered with Google, which I'm very excited about.
That's huge.
It's a huge collaboration. It should have happened a long time ago. It makes perfect sense because of them as a digital company, a tech company, and then Goodwill's the leading nonprofit workforce development provider of job training. And so this is Google's biggest people and financial investment. They have given us $10 million. 1,000 volunteers on the ground. And so they're going to be going to our career centers and working with our job coaches and helping them. That's huge. So there are 3 different levels of involvement for Goodwills. 125 Goodwill organizations are involved in it. And if you think about it, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, there are 6 million job openings that are unfulfilled. So we have to be working with people to skill them up and make sure that they're employable in today's market.
And, we're talking about, getting people the skills that they need for the jobs of the future. But there's a kind of an added, you're working with people that have a wide range of disabilities or disadvantages in the job market. So you're not just dealing, you're not dealing with able-bodied people, fully able-bodied, capable college graduates here. You're dealing with people that have a wide range of needs and deficiencies, and so that's an extra layer. But I think what really is so interesting about this project is I think the pool, if you will, the job pool of people with physical and mental disabilities looking for work, I think that's only going to continue to grow. And so this is so important that we are addressing this with technology and getting these people the skills and the resources they need to be fully functional and independent in the community, right? Because that's what it's about, is letting people live empowered and happy
and
lives
have dignity
and live in their communities and where they want to live. And so I just think when I read about this, that Goodwill was taking this on, it was so exciting. And but such a massive, from a PR and marketing standpoint for you on a day-to-day, massive undertaking. So how are you balancing that with the day-to-day needs?
So I do want to make one point, because Google, the partnership started on San Francisco public transportation. And it was someone from Google and the local CEO got to chatting. And so they really did their research in coming to our conferences and seeing how our brand functions and just understanding how we operate and how we provide services, because it's not just in person. We also do provide virtual training through mentoring and through virtual career fairs. So that in itself I think just shows what a compelling brand we are. So we had a pre-launch in October with Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google, which was major. He never comes out for anything. And so he came to the Google office and then actually went to visit a local high school and then came to the Goodwill headquarters in Pittsburgh. And then we had our launch in December, where we had all 125 Goodwills come to the DC area and had external speakers. And everyone spoke about different best practices and just how to launch and implement this. So right now we're in the implementation process,
Right.
but what I'll be looking for are the success stories. So
Yeah,
that I
absolutely.
can tell, yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
That's what the media wants.
Right, right.
That's what you need.
Right. So that will be the next phase because we had a lot of coverage about the overall collaboration.
I mean, you have Google. It's, you know, how are you not going to get coverage when Google's involved?
Yeah.
And so you're now kind of in the wait and see
the gathering phase,
which allows you to kind of pivot back to day-to-day needs and that sort of thing. And so what is in your day, what's kind of the next thing as we wait for, you know, information to come off the assembly line from the Google venture? What's the next thing?
I think making sure that the mission side of the house is talking to the communication side of the house and making sure that they're not siloed, because them being integrated and working together will ultimately lead to success.
Right.
So helping them in terms of how to gather the success stories, making sure that people are comfortable, knowing someone's story before, during, and after. Right. Just all that, I think, pre-work. Is really what we're focusing on right now.
And you bring up a good point about, an interesting point about silos, which I think is the death of marketing and communications in most organizations.
Right.
And definitely it's dangerous in the association and nonprofit world because it's always kept very, very separated.
Right.
You know, when back in the day when I was in the association world, it was always, you know, marketing is over here, PR is over here. But, you know, as we were talking off camera before the show, these two worlds are coming together.
Right.
As a PR practitioner, you're no longer just a PR practitioner.
Right.
As a marketing strategist, you're no longer just a marketing strategist. These worlds are starting to combine. How have you seen that dynamic start to meld together in your daily life?
Yeah, so that has always driven me pretty crazy because people will say, go to PR for a press release. And I think we do more than just the press release.
Right.
So we have a team of 14 people on our marketing communications team.
Right.
And we work together on our seasonal observances. So Halloween. Right. Goodwill owns Halloween, like Salvation Army owns the holidays.
We
own the Halloween holiday.
Yes.
So we work on collateral for that. We had a photo shoot for this coming Halloween in December.
Okay.
Of 2017.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
We plan way in advance for that. And obviously we'll have to see what cultural movies and books come out and how that might change later on. And then, of course, spring cleaning, back to school is big for us.
Yes.
So we come together and look at even how PR has changed. So my team has a multimedia manager on board now.
Yep.
We're creating our video in-house.
Yep.
This is long-form video, short-form video.
Right.
Looking at time-lapse videos, animation videos, infographics.
Are you guys in AI yet?
Yeah, so we started,
getting in that.
And then it also presents a challenge because if you are creating materials for the local members, they might not have the most up-to-date software. So that's also another challenge.
Or people on their team that really can do something with the materials when they get them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So we try to give materials to members, we call them members, at least 4 months in advance.
Right.
So we're meeting as a team way before that.
Right.
And there are different needs in terms of what PR and marketing needs for social media. I think social media plays a big role in that.
Yes.
For PR, any big story is going to be a game changer.
Yes.
And if we can use social media for that in terms of our videos or just creating snackable content, which is what we try to focus on, that's what we do. And our social media team works on email marketing, on our website, on our mobile app.
Right.
And then there's a person dedicated to our channels, but I work very much, very closely with that person.
Right.
So if there is a crisis situation, positioning the messaging,
right.
or I have admin rights to those channels. So
you can jump in there if need be.
Exactly.
Or shut something down if need be.
Right.
Right.
Or live stream from Google.
Right, if you need to.
Right.
And so, people, I've sat in on panels and speeches, or I've been part of panels and speeches about this convergence of marketing and PR over the years. And people will often ask me what skills you know, because, you know, I teach down at Virginia Tech, and often the students will ask, you know, what skills are going to be required of them when they come into the marketplace after they graduate. And I'm like, you have to have both, you know. I mean, at least when I was back in college, it was, if you couldn't write, you went over to marketing. If you weren't all that creative, if you weren't all that creative, you went over to PR. But if you were still in that world of our, you know, liberal arts sort of world, and you wanted to do marketing or PR, you were kind of shifted one way or another depending on your dominant skill. Like, you can't be in marketing and not know how to write. You can't be in PR and not be creative. But if one skill was dominant over the other, determined which way you went. You can't do that now. You know, most PR practitioners and marketing practitioners, you really have to be able to wear both hats, because we are no longer allowed to have campaigns that are completely separate.
Exactly. Even at the PRSA National Conference, I'm a delegate, they voted on adding communications. So now it's communications and public relations practitioners.
Right.
So I think that demonstrates what you're saying.
And so many people, you know, talk about PESO, which is, the PESO model is paid, earned, owned, shared media. And that is the way of marketing. Like, you are no longer allowed to look at an issue just from a public relations standpoint or just from a marketing standpoint. The world is now converged into one gigantic meld, and it amazes me. Not too long ago, I was brought into a large corporation just to consult with them on a very small project, and I walked in the room, and there was the marketing team, and I was like, "Where's your PR people?" And the guy who hired me, he was like, "Oh no, they don't need to." And I was like, "No,
they need to have a seat at the table.
They need to be sitting here at this table." And he was like, "But this is an outreach campaign." I'm like,
"Exactly.
Your PR people need to be at the table if you're doing an outreach campaign. Right. Yes, you are marketing to a specific demographic, but PR is part of an outreach campaign. Who's writing the press release to go to the media to alert them that you're doing this campaign? Who's placing your subject matter experts on TV shows, radio shows, blah, 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 to help you move this campaign along? The PR people. So where are they? And they were like, "Oh." And so they begrudgingly
down the hallway.
They begrudgingly went down the hallway and grabbed the one and only person from the team that was available and drug them back. And I was like, I think we should reschedule. I think we should reschedule until the whole team can be here, because we need everybody's perspective to launch this campaign.
Right.
And so, you know, I guess the moral of the story is, if you are the head of visibility or outreach or public affairs for your company or organization, and your PR team is over here and your marketing team is over here, that's a bit problematic.
Yeah, you bring up two good points. I mean, one is, a consumer will know if you're not aligned and you're not integrated.
Yes.
So if you're not working well together, then your consumer doesn't want to be aligned with you.
Right.
And also the press release, the idea of the press release.
Yes. I don't just do press releases.
Well, just to elaborate on that, we're transitioning to more blogs.
Yeah.
And when working with Google or working with other partners, they'll tell me, we don't send a press release over the wire. We just issue a blog.
Yep.
So how social media has influenced us is, our newsroom is turning into more of a multimedia newsroom.
Yeah.
So we'll have an asset section that media and influencers can go to and get logos and photos.
Right.
And then it's not just using our media stories or news stories.
Right.
It's showing content too. So any of the video pieces we created, and then we'll have the blogs and we'll have the press releases.
Right.
But it will be multimedia piece. And
it's
that's
not
really
flat.
Exactly.
It's not flat.
Exactly.
It's multifaceted now.
Right.
And it's the days of putting together the flat press release, the who, what, when, where, why, and sending it out over the wire are no longer. But and even in personal branding with individuals, I've had this conversation with a few of my clients. Like, you know, they're like, "Oh, just send out a press release that we're doing this." I'm like, nobody cares. Right. Yeah, I can send out a press release saying XYZ person is doing this event here. That's not going to get anybody, really. Right. It's not really, unless I'm picking up the phone and heavily pitching, which I'm not going to do because you're not paying me to. But everyone hates pitching. I hate pitching.
I liked it, but I haven't done it in a while. I mean, I used to be beating that when I worked at a book publisher.
Yes.
That's all I did. I was a media booker, pitch, out in open cubicle. And I liked it, but
that's like cold. To me, that feels, that ranks right up there with cold sales calls.
It does, but PR is about relationship development.
It is.
Over time, you're developing those relationships.
Well, that's I think that's why I was, that's why I feel like I've been marginally successful in my PR career, is not because I'm a great pitcher, because I think it takes me 18 years to get to the point, but I'm chatty, but it's relationships.
Exactly.
I form relationships with people in TV and radio and publications, and I can just pick up the phone and be like, hey, my girl's got this thing going on, will you run something on it? And they usually do. It helps to build relationships at places like Forbes and Entrepreneur and places like that. Right. But you got to do it. But it is about relationships, because I do hate to pitch. But in our world, if you're not good at something, you figure out how to work around it or align yourself with people who are good at that. You adapt, you overcome. And for me, I hated pitching, but I was like, okay, well, I'm good at building relationships, so let me just start cold calling out to people and building relationships. That way I don't have to pitch. I can just pick up the phone and be like, will you run this? But that's also a skill that I'm a little concerned that the people we're hiring don't know how to cultivate. Because, when I'm down at Tech giving my lectures, when I tell people about, like desk side chats.
Right.
Or the new technology version of a desk side chat.
What is the new technology version?
Oh, I just reach out to them and I text them. Like, if there's a journalist that I want to get to know, like, I'll just text them.
I thought you meant like a virtual.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, if there is, like, I'm okay. No, I'm just saying, instead of actually, the days of physically going down to the newspaper, the magazine,
or going to New York,
and physically sitting next to their desk and getting to know them and pitching them, has now in a way given way to reaching out to them on Twitter or Instagram or texting them and getting to know each other that way. But when I tell my students about the days where I literally went down to the Washington Post and actually sat at a desk next to a person and talked about nonproliferation. This was back when I was at CRDF, and they just sheer horror comes over their face. They're like, "What?" And you did what? But I tell them, I'm like, you gotta do whatever you gotta do, but my ability to build those relationships is why I was able to get stuff printed.
Right.
It's about the relationships you have. And I'm afraid that those coming up, they're not wanting to take the time to build those relationships. Because it's not you tweet them once and they're going to post your stuff.
No.
It's trust over time.
Exactly.
You have to prove yourself as a credible source.
Yes.
You can't be throwing crap content at them and think that it's going to get placed.
No, you have to interact with them and comment on their stories and build that relationship. So even if it is virtual, it's still a relationship management. Yeah, two-way. And I'm a little concerned that the kiddies are not. They'll have to figure some other way out, I guess, is the moral of that story. But I'm a little concerned about it. But they will look at me in like complete horror when I mention desk side chats. I mean, it's not that long ago that 2 years ago, I was up in New York doing desk side chats. So
right. I didn't mind. I hated picking up the phone and having, because everyone knows I don't talk on the phone. Like, if you try to call me, I don't answer. I text only. It's a phobia. I don't know. I hated.
It's very a millennial thing, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I hated picking up the phone and pitching. But like emailing or calling somebody to be like, hey, I'm Frances Reimers. I'm with XYZ organization. I'd love to tell you more about who we are and what we do and get to know you better. Was fine with that, and going down there and actually sitting and talking to them face to face. But for whatever reason, like cold sweats if I had to actually pick up the phone. I remember when I worked at CRDF and we were doing an event in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. We were bringing together former weapons scientists from throughout the former weapons scientists from the former Soviet Union who had built renewable energy technologies that companies in Ohio were interested in purchasing. We were bringing them all together in Cleveland for this big event put on by the governor of Ohio at the time. And so I had to reach out to Cleveland area journalists, magazines, the whole nine, the TV station, and like literally just I remember the day that I had to do it. I was literally sweating profusely on the metro on the way to work because I knew I had to get it done that day. And I just hated, I was like, can't I just send them the press release and be done with it? But no, we had to have media on site. The governor was going to be there. These weapons scientists that the American government was paying for were going to be in the room. We had to have as many journalists there as possible. But that whole day, I was just like, profusely. It was gross.
Yeah, but you thrive on competition. So did you have other members of your communications team that were doing the same thing?
It was Rebecca and I. Rebecca's the web person. I'm the PR person. So no, there was nobody else. But at the time, there was this guy named Merle who was there was this guy named Merle who was the head of the communications department for the governor in Ohio.
Okay.
And God bless him, because I got about a third of the way through my list, and I was like, I am literally going to have like a coronary. And so I pick up the phone and I call Merle and I'm like, hey, what kind of deal can we work out here that you actually get all of these journalists to come? I was like, you know these people, like, you know, what can we do? And he was like, you have drinks with me when you come to Ohio. And I was like, done. Done. And sure enough, we got Kiplinger's there. We got Wall Street Journal there. We got all of the major Ohio papers there. We got the local news station. We got some radio people. So my boss at the time was elated, and all I had to do was suffer through an hour of drinks with a guy named Merle. So
I mean, there's been no shame in my game, because we have had monthly happy hours when I was in book publishing with the local media at our Time magazine writers that were in D.C.
Does this qualify for the Me Too movement? Us having to have happy hours with, I mean, I was not, harmed in any of these happy hours, but do these happy hours go away now in the era of the Me Too movement? I mean, they're essential. They were essential.
It counts as relationship building. Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether it's coffee or alcohol.
I mean, it was essential to the development of Francis Reimer's career. I can tell you that. Like,
Or keeping your job, really.
Keeping my job.
Yeah.
Although Eric really wouldn't have fired me, even if I didn't get all that. I mean, he had a soft spot for me. I was the only person in the office he could talk football with. So he wasn't going to fire. Anyway, I want to transition. I mean, we're kind of we touched on it very lightly at the beginning, but you and I and our dedication to service, our dedication to leadership. We are eager beavers, and we love to.
We're doers.
We are doers.
Yes.
We are doers, and we've taken very similar paths in taking roles of leadership. You however, have taken it to the extreme of your love of leadership. Like, how many actual volunteer positions do you have rotating at any one given time? Because I feel it's like 85.
So there are 3 organizations I am involved with.
There's
right
more
now.
than that. She's lying. She's lying.
And there are subsections of that, but it's all about, it's not what you're doing, it's what you're being.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think you know that I take my talent and skills and give back, and it brings a lot of fulfillment to me.
Yes.
So the organizations that I'm involved with are
get ready. Get ready for it.
Washington Women in Public Relations, which we both served on the board.
Yes.
I'm a past president.
Yes.
And now I'm on the advisory council.
Yes.
This is my 3rd year on the advisory council. And we think strategically about pricing events. When I was past past president, I launched an awards program, you might
yes,
recall.
I do recall.
Emerging Leaders Awards.
Yes.
So we realized that
Too old for the Emerging Leaders Award.
I think it caps at 35, so that ship has sailed.
Yes,
but,
yes.
So it's to award up-and-coming leaders.
Right.
And a lot of awards in the PR industry, especially locally, tend to stray more towards women that have had 20 years of experience.
Yes. Yeah.
So last year we looked at just reimagining the awards.
Yeah.
I did more of a live chat.
Right.
And rather than having a formal speaker.
Right.
And we had it at WeWork, which was a really interesting space to have.
It's a great space.
We had a huge turnout.
Yeah.
So that's basically how the advisory council works, just in terms of looking at we're not on the board of directors, but we're looking at the programs. And I love that organization because they consistently reinvent themselves.
Yeah, all the time.
And,
it's not when I was there, it's completely different from when I was there, I would say.
Yeah.
Side note, if you are looking for fun YouTube fodder, there's a great video of Lauren and I.
It's still live?
Oh yeah. People send it to me all the time because my hair was super short then.
Oh, right.
And people are always blown away by how short my hair was and that terrible, why did I wear that green skirt? Why?
I liked it.
Oh, it's...
But you wore a white shirt on TV, and that's definitely a no-no.
That's definitely a no-no. I thought it would be okay because I put the brown belt with it, and I thought it would break it up, but no. But people always are like, your hair. So there is a very... the content is good. Actually, the content of that video is very good.
Yes.
But it was just bad fashion choice. Those gigantic earrings, I thought I was why. But side note, yes, there is a good Washington Women in PR video interview with Lauren and I from
and Debbie Freeze.
Yes. Who's not even in DC anymore.
No,
Minneapolis. Yeah. God, how long ago was that?
2009.
Yeah. So
yes,
a minute ago. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a gem. But continue. The 18 other organizations you're with.
And just a shout out to WWPR.
Yes.
Their website's www.pr.org.
Yes.
And they have their new, their induction of the new board lunch tomorrow, happening tomorrow from 12 to 2. Yeah. So I encourage people to go to that. And then the other organization...
And pretty much any woman, like for those watching out there, any woman in the Washington, D.C. area who is in marketing, PR, communications, digital, public affairs,
event
planning. I can't say enough, it was integral in my career. It was definitely very integral in Lauren's career. Just the networking alone amongst other strong, dominant women in our creative arts space. It's a must-do, especially for any young professional woman who is just starting out. I mean, it was a great resource for me as I was making my way up, and I still like to think that we're still making our way up. We're only midway through our destination here, but especially for younger women, I found it to be a valuable resource.
Exactly. It's a small, intimate group. Yep. People are willing to help you.
Yes.
And exactly what you said, it is the only organization in DC dedicated to female communicators.
Yep.
Not to say they don't allow male
I mean, if dudes want to roll up, we'll let you, but it's not. No.
So the intent is to build and inspire female communicators.
And then so you have YMPN, which was long ago.
Oh, that's long ago.
Yeah, that's long ago.
Yes.
And then IBC.
Yes. So I'm a member. I'm not.
Oh, you didn't do it? See, she does so many. I don't even know what she's part of and what she's not.
I chaired their Silver Inkwell Award ceremony. Yes. And that was... Gosh, I think 2010 or 11, and unfortunately they have done away with that program.
They have?
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
That's a good one.
Right, so I'm not involved in terms of leadership, but still a member.
Yeah.
The other organization is Public Relations Society of America, the National Capital Chapter.
Yes.
So I am a vice president. There are 3 of us.
Yes.
And then I'm overseeing the pro bono committee. So
very important.
Which is actually how I started with Washington Women PR. You take on, and that really played a role in me transitioning from the for-profit sector to the nonprofit sector. So basically, PR professionals give back. We take on a nonprofit client for 2 years, and we assess what their issue or challenge is.
Right.
So if there's a nonprofit in the area that wants to apply for that, applications are open until February 9th.
February 9th,
and
yeah.
it's prsa-ncc.org is
Right.
on the homepage. And then I am doing the Hall of Fame Awards program,
yes.
which is part of TOT, and I
Right.
was chair of TOT back in 2012.
Right.
So Hall of Fame is really, and there's a point to all of this.
Yes,
but,
there is. There's a method to your madness.
Well, there it's the connections and the
Yes.
resources, but also
Yes.
I gained so much from it, and
Yes.
and have gained friendships and contacts that are just immeasurable. Lifelong, yeah.
And then
So-
your other thing with church.
Yeah. Oh, so and just going back to Hall of Fame, that's for people who have 30 plus years of communications experience.
We're almost
So,
there. We're almost there.
A few years, but have really made major impacts.
Yeah, these are big times. These are heavy. These are the heavy hitters.
Yes,
Yeah,
like
for
Maria
sure.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
who was the founder of Vanguard Communications last year. So.
Oh, wow, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
But then their church thing. Talk about your church thing.
thing. So I went through a training called Stephen Ministry last year, which exists in about 120 countries and transcends across all denominations.
Right.
And so the class was held at my church, but we had people from neighboring churches of all faiths. And I just really loved the course.
Right.
It was 6 months. And you learn how to be a caregiver. So you are meeting with someone once a week for an hour.
Right.
And I think the care recipient is someone that has been through something really tragic in their lives. So whether it's the death of a loved one or loss of a job, something that really shakes you at your core. And you and I have both had major things happen in our life.
Absolutely.
It could be a divorce, but just something that takes you off kilter.
Right.
And so my role is to walk with that person for as long as they need it.
Right.
And
physically, literally, both.
Well, so what we meet in person.
Right.
Of course, you can call and text as needed.
Right.
But it's just giving them that time in person. That's caring care and ministry care.
Right.
For whatever time they need.
And how do the people find their way to this program? Is it through the church? Like, is there a website? How did people get there if they need this assistance?
So most churches have something on their website. I'm a member of the National Presbyterian Church in DC. They have something on their website. You don't have to be a member. So I just want to emphasize that if you're someone in the community.
It's non-denominational.
Right. You can approach the church and say that you're going through this situation. We've had people attend our church. They're not members.
Right.
And something has happened in their life that's pretty tragic and they need that assistance.
And how much of a time commitment for you, like taking the courses and working with people, how much of a commitment has this been for you?
The time commitment during the actual training, so classes were every Tuesday night for 6 months from 7 until 9:30.
Okay, wow.
Potentially longer.
Right.
And then there were the training manuals and books beyond that to read.
Right.
I personally wish I had that training in my 20s because, a lot of it is replicable to real life.
Right.
You learn about what's the difference between assertive and aggressive communication.
Right.
Or not to get yourself pulled in the ditch. So you may have that friend that is really needy or that friend that has just gone.
I am that friend.
No, you're not.
Like, I'm that friend.
No. But someone that just has gone through
Right.
so much, and you
Right.
can't be an effective caregiver if you're down in the ditch with them.
Right.
So it's just, it's really a lot of practical lessons.
Yeah, and because I definitely have noticed a difference in you since before you started the training to now. I noticed it not the other night when we had dinner, but the time I saw you before that. You just seemed more like, I hate to be cliche, but like you just seemed a little more zen about it, because your life is crazy. You've got a lot.
I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah. In addition to all of this that she's mentioned, she's also a wife and a mother to a 4-year-old, and so you got a lot going on. A couple irons in the fire. But I really noticed that the training just kind of, like, I think it just made you more at peace. Not that you were not at peace with yourself, but it's just a lot more like whatever that adjective is. And so I was very interested in the course. Like, she had a graduation. It was like it was a whole thing. But I think this is great. I think now more than ever, and this is very on brand with you. When you mentioned that you were doing this, I was not shocked by this at all. Not just because you're a doer, but it just is in line with service. Right. You are a person of service. And so I was not shocked at all that you said that you were doing this. I was like, 6 months. That's a... But it's great. And I think it's great that these services are out there because, right. I mean, just as we were, we went to dinner the other night with another one of our good girlfriends, and we were all talking about things that are going on in our personal lives, our professional lives, challenges. And we realized in the course of the conversation that any one of us could have picked up the phone and called the other one to talk about it, to vent about it, to maybe brainstorm a plan of action, but we don't. And what's the point of having friends if you don't reach out to them in your time of need? Right. Or maybe it's not a DEFCON 5, just reach out and be like, hey, I'm going through a box of papers that are kind of meaningful papers, and I'm having a moment with it. And but we don't. But it's good. For whatever reason, I think, especially we as type A, like, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but we as type A women, and we're not alone here, because I've had this conversation with other pockets of my female friends. We as type A women, we just refuse to, I think, have conversations about the real shit that's going on in our lives. It's always, work's great, I'm great, everything's great, weigh 5 pounds more than I did last year, but don't worry, I'll be able to lose that in 2.2 seconds on the cross trainer, but everything's great. We don't, even with our own friends, I don't think we really talk about what's really happening. Like, it's a rare day where I have a conversation with a girlfriend and it's like, no, actually things aren't great, and here's what's going on. Like, this is really what's happening. Why do you think that is?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I just feel like time's a factor. I mean, I don't even get to tell my husband about some challenges I'm facing between just coming home and getting said child to bed. So I don't think it's a moment of being having pride or anything. I'm not sure why that is, but I've thought about. No, I just thought about that because there have been challenges that I have faced both professionally and personally, and I should have just texted you or others and have that moment. And it's just like, as a working mom, I also feel, yes, being a mom is very rewarding, but it is. Yes. And I love it, but it's also, there's just a level of kind of isolation to it. And I was telling someone at work, I tried to join this moms group, and they said, no working moms, please. It was all stay-at-home moms. And it's like just trying to find your tribe of moms that are going through the same thing that you're going through. Right. Or I think sometimes friends will think, oh, she's busy, she has her toddler, and so they don't call. And I don't want you or anyone else to ever think that, because I'm still...
Well, you were saying something, and both Laura and I were like, I was at home. You could have called me. I was at home. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's we assume the other person is busy, and Janae, who another one of our friends who just had her second child, she's like, please call me. Please call. And I was like, okay. And now every day I'm like texting her. I'm like, I'm doing this today. And she's, eventually she's going to tell me to stop. I know it. But right now she really appreciates it because she's just at home with a toddler and a newborn. And I think she just likes the diversion.
Yes. Just it's a dull conversation. I checked my work email on maternity leave because I just wanted that interaction and with the world. Right.
I'm sure. Just working from home, I mean, I don't have a child, but
that's not your personality.
But I'm like, Jacob can tell you every week when I get here, I'm little Miss Chatty Cathy, because I'm like, oh, other human beings. I'm so excited to see you. Or like earlier today, someone called me who I haven't talked to in forever, and I literally kept the poor man on the phone. Well, he was part of the problem, but I kept the man on the phone for an hour and a half just because I was like, because most of my conversation in my days with clients or whatnot is email or text message. Right. All of my athlete clients, everything is handled through text message, which is just so bizarre, but that's how they do business. We only have a couple minutes left in the show. Imagine, right? I say this, an hour just flies by. Yes. But I want to know, because you are such a consumer of content, whose personal brand and whose content is giving you life right now? Like, who are you really following and enjoying what it is that they're putting out there?
So a nonprofit that, well, I think they're a for-profit, but that I really like is Classy. And so they're a fundraising software program.
Yes.
And they're based in San Diego. They started off as a pub crawl for breast cancer research in 2006. And the two co-founders, I think they met each other in college.
Okay.
And then started a fundraising program. And it's really good for smaller nonprofits.
Right.
So if you're having a golf outing or
Right.
an awards banquet. But something that they do, which is so amazing, is they have, and I affectionately refer to it as the nonprofit prom.
Yes.
So they have the Classy Awards ceremony, which started in 2009, and I attended it and then thought, oh, we need to be involved. So
Right.
applied for us to be an award, one of the finalists for an
Right.
award, and then our CEO has been a keynote speaker.
Right.
But what I love about it is that they have smaller startups,
Right.
Nonprofits that are focused on social innovation.
Right.
For example, one of their nonprofits that was a finalist for their awards this year created a shoe that expands. And
I saw this.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, expands 5 sizes. So in 5 years.
Right.
So it's helping children in 20 countries
Right.
From injury or from illness.
Right.
And so I go to these events and I'm just blown away.
Right.
It's so inspirational. So I love looking at their content on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Thank you, my dear, for joining me.
Oh, thank you.
My
There's
heart
so much left to talk about.
I mean, we should probably do like a part 2. Maybe we'll do a part 2 and bring alcohol in. A couple of things before we wrap. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you? I mean, of course they do.
So I'm Lauren L. Lawson on Twitter and Instagram, and then I am on LinkedIn, of course. Lauren Lawson Sea Life.
Of course. Couple of things before we wrap. First thing, if you want to connect with us, please do on Twitter at LTP Brand Radio and on Instagram at Let's Talk Personal. You can find me on Twitter at Your Firestarter and me on Instagram at Firestarter CEO. For those living in the DC metro area, I do have some fun, candid, wonderful dating hacks for guys training sessions that are coming up. Got to help those guys get swiped. So you can find that information on my website at www.yourfirestarter.com. You can find the dates, locations, cost, all of that. I would love to have packed rooms of men who are looking to build their brand online through their dating apps the right way, the right way that's going to get you swiped and not look creepy. I want to help you do that. Also, please mark your calendars. Next week's show is going to be a doozy. Joining me next week on the show is former Washington Redskin and Pro Bowl wide receiver Santana Moss. So that will be a great show, and I'm really looking forward to that. But thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.